What was it like playing the villain?
Well, and here's the thing.
Welcome to the Logo Spill Bar. I'm your bartender and host, Johnny Sibilly, and today I'm joined by actor, model, and token toxic gay from last summer's hit rom-com Fire Island, my future ex-husband, Zane Phillips. Oh, hello. I didn't know we were serving snacks at the bar. Welcome, how are you?
I'm doing so well. How are you?
Good, I'm better now. I hope you're parched, darling, because it's time to spill.
Cheers. Wow, I really am shaped like this. Thank you for noticing.
That is good.
That is good.
Well, before we get into all things you and Fire Island and Legacies and all the amazing things that you've done.
CW sister.
Yeah. Let's talk about Baby Zane. When did you first realize you were gay? Take sip of straw.
I know. It's a good question because I don't think I really had...
Like an aha moment.
There was, and also like, my town of 10,000 people, like there were not out gay people around. And so theoretically, I guess they were like in media. Like I remember having like seen Will and Grace as a kid, but I don't know.
Were you like, that's not me?
I don't like have a word for it. I didn't understand what it was. And so I think like.
Did you ever see a boy like in school where you're like,
Well, and here's the thing. So in 9th grade, I managed the football team.
Oh.
I did not play football, but I was like, let me just see what they're doing and maybe like I'll like it and then I can be a part of this.
Okay. You found your in.
Yeah, yeah. I was like water boy, like essentially, it was thankless. And there was one guy who would occasionally give me like rides to practice, and he was like a senior, and he was just so kind and so like handsome and like I don't know. I remember that being probably the first guy I could like recognize. Like I don't want to be like this guy. Yeah,
you're like, I want to see him more and more and more.
And I just want to be like around him. There's like there was something more like soulful about it than anything.
Yeah.
And then like the sex fantasies come later, but.
So you made quite the splash last summer in the gay rom-com Fire Island.
Fire the Island.
So was preparation like, when you first meet this like all these gay people, like what's the vibe?
Oh God. I mean, it's like truly, it was like my first like job out of the pandemic, which was very depressing.
Yeah.
Like I was just sort of looking at myself being like, I can't do this anymore. I think I have to like become an engineer.
Ooh.
Like I was like, I didn't realize.
Do you know anything about engineering?
I'm like good at math.
Okay.
I am really good at math.
Okay.
Or at least like what I did of math in high school. I can really get there, but but I was like, what is pandemic proof? What will help me like support myself through whatever this weird time is? But so it was my first job at the pandemic, and like it was so healing to be around. And like a lot of these boys, like they're like not only, I mean, to be around like a bunch of just queer people in general was so nice, but also like this particular group of people was just so joyful and so happy to be there. And like, I don't know, I think everyone really believed in the project too. Like I think I remember reading the script and just being like totally floored by what Joel was able to do. And
I've told him, I was like, when I read the script, I thought, oh wow, this is actually what gay people sound like, rather than like the things I had auditioned for, which was like, we don't say that, like,
It's so funny, and like Joel is like so good at sort of removing himself, I think, from the pressure to appeal to anyone in particular.
Yeah.
He's like, I'm gonna make this for me and for my friends, and like in doing so, I think he made a really universal, specific script. Like specific in its universality.
Did you, when you guys were like filming, did you think about the impact that it would have? Because it's had an impact, but did you like think that, or were you just having a good time?
and again, like it was very like everyone was able to remove themselves from it. You know, I think I mean I would like think to myself being like, you know, this is something this is a story that like we have truly never seen before. And you know, I again, I like that was like kept on fueling me every day of being like, I'm so proud to be a part of this, and I'm so happy to be a part of this storytelling. Like, you know, even if I'm not like a huge part in it, but I get to just witness. I get to bear witness.
An important part, I'd say, to the story
Listen.
movement. And speaking of your character, Dex, spoiler alert: if you haven't seen it, you don't support queer media.
Exactly.
Just putting that out there.
Exactly.
So Dex ends up getting canceled after he films himself hooking up with Matt Rogers' character without consent, because Matt's character was drunk.
Yeah, and probably other things too.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Things there.
I mean, yeah. What was it like playing the villain?
You know, I love it.
Oh yeah.
I that was my thing with theater is like it's filled with you know, just like bland, good boyfriends, and I think something that's been really fun about like the past, you know, my like career like post that has been like I do get to sort of play characters with more of an edge, and a lot of times it's cool. It's, you know, because it is sort of like a statement on, I don't know, like I see it a little bit as like a statement on whiteness too, and like what and like how like white men and white gays in particular like move through the world, and how there's a lot of privilege and there's a lot of shit that they get used to getting away with, you know. And so
and what's funny is that like watching it, because we spoke before I watched it and you were like, don't hate me after. I was like, what do you mean? And then I watched it and I was like, you know, you fall for this guy. You're like, oh, he's so nice, like why is everyone such a bitch? And then he does what he does and you're like, I fell for it. This is what happens. Like, you know what I mean?
Right. No, I mean, and,
so
and
good job.
That's like the beauty of the Wickham character too, is like you do get to come in and you do get to basically like use everything in your toolbox of like, I'm a good person, I'm into you, I'm like, I'm, you know, I'm someone like who you can trust.
Yeah. And then
it's just like, and to him, it's just, you know, it's just what he does. It's just the pattern of behavior. But
do you think Dex knows he's a bad guy?
No. Yeah, and I think that's
the victim, huh?
Because it's I think there is an element of like you get to a point where you feel so like jilted by like whatever like the society around you has said or you know has prescribed, that you stop being able to like receive, I would say, like moral criticism. You know what I mean?
Say that.
You know, where and it's funny because you see it a lot on like online discourse now, right? Where it's like we are so frustrated with the systems around us, but you know, you have to still be able to identify, okay, what is real criticism and what is like haters.
Yeah, what is your issue
with
me rather than my issue? Yeah.
Exactly.
And I will say I did, you know, see you clap back a couple times on the internet. Did you like expect to get a little like, you know, read or a troll here and there?
Well, it's funny. It's mostly, I mean, from the movie, I'm like, yeah, whatever. Like
it's not me. It's not me.
It's honestly mostly people were like, if people were thirsting over the character, I have to be like, you must stop. This is not.
That's not the point.
I mean, sure, whatever. But like, also, you know, this man is supposed to be seen as like a villain. And honestly, it's worse than what it is in the book in Pride and Prejudice, because like, I think you know, one of the things that has become such a constant in like sacred queer spaces is consent, and to violate that is like, I don't think that's ever going to go away, right? I think consent sort of being one of these like these holy things that we hold on to and allows us to be free, right? So I definitely that's the one thing where I'm like it's fine if you think I'm cute. Don't think he's cute.
Yeah. Is there any crossover between you and Dex? Other than whiteness, obviously.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you for noticing that. I appreciate you for seeing me. I think there is, you know, one thing that I have, come to sort of grasp with in my years of therapy at this point is I do have a bit of like a chameleon inside me in terms of like how I interact socially, and there's something about being able to like, because for a long time, right, like I was sort of two different people, right? I was like, you have your front facing, you know, sort of like I'm a good Christian boy, and then there's your like nighttime, you know,
good time girl.
So I find some things on the internet, it's fine, and you know, and you do have like an internal separation inside you that makes it really easy to sort of, you know, be one person to you know, in this circle and be another person. So like something that obviously I'm like trying to integrate the various parts of myself, but I do find it really easy to
compartmentalize.
To compartmentalize and to sort of be who I need to be for whoever needs
other
me to be
people.
That. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So don't do that.
Yeah, don't do it.
Don't do that. Be who you want to be for yourself.
So prior to Fire Island,
Great.
prior to Fire Island, you played a literal demigod.
Yeah.
In
CW sister.
CW, their spinoff of Vampire Diaries.
Yes.
What does it feel like to be cast as someone who's supernaturally hot?
Okay, actually, this is good. Let's talk about this. Because okay, yeah, you're probably familiar with this, right? Getting character descriptions where it's like, this guy is hot.
Yeah, and it's really, well, not all the time, but when I do, I'm like, I'm not getting this.
No, but like same, because I think
we're like, we don't think we're pretty.
I know, like cry for us. No, but it is so hard to marry what you think of yourself with what the world thinks of you. You know, and I again, like therapy.
Yeah.
Thank God. You know, I'm trying not to just like worry about how those things fit together as much. Because, you know, like perception is reality in a certain way, right? And so like if that is what someone thinks of you, then that is what someone thinks of you, and that's great. But ultimately, like I you know, what I got from that project was like the fun. And like being able to explore. I got to like tear a parking meter out of the ground and like hit someone with it. And that was fun.
Not everyone can say they've done that.
And you know what? Very few people can say that. And honestly, if we can put that in every project I do from here on out.
I grew up on rom-coms, so I was like, oh, I've always wanted to live like my Tom Hanks, Meg Ryan fantasy. Is there like a genre that feels like the most you?
So I've really been hard with fantasy lately. Like over the pandemic, I read the entirety of Wheel of Time, which is like 14 books, and they're all like 1,000 pages.
Wow, so you like to read?
I do like to read, but honestly, I like used to read, like I was in New York, right? So I was like, I was like on the subway, like reading like poetry and reading like nonfiction and reading, you know, short stories. Now I'm like, I don't read smart anymore. I read accessible, you know, and I read like world building. So
I love a good world building.
Yeah, so I've been really into fantasy. Yeah, and that's honestly, that was like, you know, a part of Legacies too, was being able to like explore like a different world with like all these sort of extreme emotions and extreme powers and capabilities, whatever. You know, and I'm like, if I could just like be an elf in Lord of the Rings. I love the idea of being able to be, because I think like, you know, as queer actors, like we sort of like, we get to do maybe like comedy, we get to do like character, but like I want to do genre. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like I want to like be weird and in a costume. You know, like in a capital C costume.
Like, pointy ear.
I'll put me in a pointy ear.
I will say, like, the conversation always comes up, and I don't know how you feel, but I know how I feel about it. But you know, queer people playing queer people, is that something you like feel strongly about, or is it something you're like, you know, whoever's best for the part?
It's a really, it's a much more like heated conversation than I thought it would be, right? Because like, so here's sort of my perspective on it, right? Is that like, you know, when we, God, this is so loaded. This is really loaded because I think about this a lot. there is something about when you are like an out actor where it's like you feel in integrity with yourself and integrity with like your life and your personal life, your professional life. They're married and like there's not the stress of them conflicting.
Yeah.
Behind that, there's a fear, right? That like, okay, is this going to preclude me from certain jobs? Because that has been the history for many years.
Yeah.
Right. And I think ultimately, like when we say that we want queer people for queer roles, it's about basically being able to say like, hey, like you, by virtue of being an out queer actor, have perhaps lost out on job opportunities. And it's about making sure that like we are supporting you in doing this thing that is like hard and that like takes away certain options for you.
Yeah. It's about being equitable.
Exactly. It's just basically about like saying like this was not wrong of you to come out, right? And that's what's hard. I feel like there's this weird thing where nowadays where it's like, we're disincentivizing people to want to like live as who they are. We're saying like, actually like, no, you should sort of like stay in the closet and like, and that's gonna be safer for you and whatever. And like, I'm not a person to like speak on anybody's journey, especially if they're young. Like young actors, like leave them the fuck alone.
Good luck even just getting in the room.
Yeah, totally. Like just they're figuring out. But like people who are more established and more sure of who they are, like I think it's a matter of, and again, it goes back to like what, when I was growing up and what I wanted was to see someone who was queer and who was happy and who was successful. And I wanted to know that those things could all coexist.
Well, here you are. All right, so you are slated to star in Glamorous.
With our mutual friend Kim Cattrall.
Speaking of Kim,
every
gay man's dream is to star alongside Kim. I want to know, like, what was that like to play her son?
It was so, like, first of all, like she has had a career that has such longevity, right? And like, there's I don't know, like you get into the room with Kim and like there's such like a sureness and a security to who she is and what she does that I think it was like, that was ultimately like the biggest thing that I took away is like, this is what I want for my career is like coming into a room and being like, hey, this is who I am, this is what I do. Yeah. Right. And knocking it out of the park every time. And yeah, I mean, it was, it's fun. I'm so excited to see it. I've like, we've like seen like.
I know that you can't really like say anything about it, but
I think it's just a joyful story, and it's silly as hell, and like again, I think it speaks to a queer experience that I haven't seen before. Yeah. And again, like it's one of those things where I just feel so grateful to be able to sit back.
You're gonna be dressed really cute, and like, are people gonna thirst over you somewhere?
I am. Okay. No, this is good. I'm gonna be shirtless a lot.
Yeah. There you are.
Watch it.
Listen, if that ain't a sell, I don't know what
I
it
have
is.
nothing else to give you.
Well, cheers to Glamorous. We
Cheers
will be
to Glamorous.
We will be watching.
Better.